You know that feeling when you return home after years away, and you expect it to feel like stepping into an old pair of boots. Comfortable, familiar, yours? Yeah. That didn't happen. It was a Thursday morning when I pulled my rusty F-250 up the winding dirt road to my grandfather's ranch. The air smelled like pine, mud, and history. After 12 years in the city, I was finally coming back to where I belonged. Just me, the wind, and the quiet gurgle of the lake that wrapped around the south edge of the property like a lazy snake. I inherited the ranch 6 months ago when Grandpa passed. I hadn't been back since my high school graduation. He'd always said, "This land's older than your name. Don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do on it." I used to laugh at that. I'm not laughing anymore. Because less than 48 hours after pitching a tent by my own lake, just a man and his fishing rod soaking up the stars, I had 2 sheriff's deputies shining flashlights in my face. "You can't camp here, sir," one of them said like he was warning me off a public beach. I blinked, genuinely confused. "I'm on my property." He radioed something in, stepped back. The other one, younger, said, "We got a call from the HOA. Said someone was trespassing behind Lot 18. This is part of Lakeside Preserve, right?" Lakeside Preserve. The words hit me like a slap. I remembered Grandpa railing about them years ago. A homeowners association, some slick developer had bought up plots on the east side of the lake and built a bunch of identical tan houses. I'd seen them when I drove in, cookie-cutter suburbs with white fences and matching porch swings. "They've got no claim past the tree line," Grandpa once told me. I made sure of that. And yet, here I was, cops on my land, accusing me of trespassing. I tried to explain. I told them my name, Clay Mercer, showed them the deed from the glove box, even pointed out the rusted iron stake by the fire pit that marked the old property line. They didn't arrest me, but they didn't apologize either. "Take it up with the HOA, the deputy muttered, "or the county, but don't start no trouble, okay?" I watched their cruiser roll away, heart pounding. My own damn land. I should have let it go. But I didn't. Because something wasn't right. The HOA hadn't just made a mistake. They'd been building trails, planting signs, cutting trees, on my land. And the deeper I dug, the more I realized something that turned my blood cold. They weren't just wrong about me trespassing. They were trespassing on me for years. Her name was Pamela Thornridge, and she introduced herself like she was announcing royalty. "I'm the HOA president here," she said, stepping onto my driveway 2 days after the cops showed up. She wore pastel pink, head to toe, with perfectly manicured nails that matched the leash she held in one hand, at the end of which waddled a Shih Tzu in a rhinestone collar. "I understand there's been some confusion," she continued, smiling like someone who hated smiling, but loved control. I'd just finished cleaning my fish, still had the scent of trout and river clay on my hands. "No confusion," I said flatly. "I'm Clay Mercer. I own this land, and you're standing on it." She gave a short, condescending laugh. "Mr. Mercer, technically speaking, the Lakeside Preserve Homeowners Association owns maintenance and usage rights to everything east of Parcel 43B, including the walking paths, shoreline access, and community trail system." I raised an eyebrow. "Funny. 'Cause Parcel 43B is this," I said, tapping the old iron marker post, "and it stretches clean around that bend, where your little community garden sign's been hammered right into my ground." Her eyes twitched. Just for a second, but I saw it. "You should speak to our attorney," she said. "The HOA has a copy of the easement agreement. It's all very official." "Great," I said. "Then your attorney can come pick up your benches, signs, and solar lights. They've got 48 hours. That was the moment Pamela Thornridge transformed from suburban monarch to vengeful bureaucrat. "You know," she said icily, "I've dealt with your grandfather before. He was difficult, thought the rules didn't apply to him either. But the community has standards, Mr. Mercer. The people here pay for those trails. They expect access, order, respect." "I'm not your community," I said, "and you don't own the damn lake." She turned without a word and walked away, her dog trotting beside her like a furry little enforcer. I thought that was the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. The next morning, my fishing gear was gone. Just gone. My tackle box, the collapsible chair, even the thermos I left by the fire ring. All vanished. There were fresh tire tracks near the back trail coming from the HOA's side. I checked my game cams. Grandpa had installed a few old motion-activated cameras tucked into trees near the lake's perimeter. Most were busted or needed batteries, but one still worked. And what I saw on that blurry black and white footage made my stomach drop. A man in an HOA jacket, two others with tools, loading my stuff into a golf cart and driving off through the woods. They didn't just think they were right. They thought I wouldn't fight back. Over the next few days, it escalated. They posted no trespassing signs on my trees. A letter came in the mail, threatening fines for non-compliant structures. The structure, my tent. Then came the noise complaints every time I used my generator, even just for lights or music while cooking at the lakeside. And that's when I realized they were trying to push me out. Pamela wasn't just defending community property. She was expanding her kingdom, slowly, quietly, illegally. And I was the first real resistance she'd faced in years. So I did what Grandpa would have done. I started digging. 2 days after the fishing gear theft, I drove into town. Not for revenge, for records. See, one thing Grandpa always said stuck with me. Paper don't lie, but people sure will. I headed to the county recorder's office, a squat beige building with flickering fluorescent lights and the smell of old coffee. I wasn't expecting much, but I also wasn't expecting Ron Delaney. Ron was a retired surveyor with a comb-over and the energy of a tired bloodhound. He worked part-time helping people find old land records. When I told him my name, Clay Mercer, his eyebrows went up. Mercer Ranch? Been a long time since I heard that name in here. Yeah, I said. I'm trying to figure out what the hell the HOA is doing building trails on my land. He leaned back in his chair. Let me guess, Lakeside Preserve HOA? I nodded. He let out a dry chuckle. Pamela's been trying to get her hands on that lake since before your granddad passed. Thinks if she maps it pretty enough, she owns it. Maps? I asked, leaning in. Ron turned to his computer. Clack, clack, clack. Then he pulled open a drawer and dug out a rolled-up blueprint. Here's the original subdivision overlay from 2007. Now, watch this. He pulled up the digital version from the HOA's website. The difference hit me instantly. Pamela's map showed the trails running along the entire lake like a horseshoe, clean, connected, and inside their property line. The original showed something else. The trails ended at the tree line. Everything past that was part of Parcel 43B, mine. Ron jabbed his finger at the discrepancy. See that? He said. They fudged it, redrew the boundaries, shifted their walking trails by about 80 feet. Not enough to get noticed on paper, but enough to steal a whole shoreline. Is that legal? I asked. He snorted. Hell no, but it's slick, and most folks wouldn't know where the old survey markers are, so they don't check. But I do, I said. I've got markers all along the lake. Grandpa made sure of it. Ron gave me a slow smile. Then you've got something better than a complaint. You've got proof. I drove home that afternoon with a copy of the original plat map, a printed photo of the metal marker by the lake, and a fire in my chest that hadn't burned like this in years. They'd crossed the line, literally. Pamela Thornridge had built her little empire on my soil, and I was going to take it back. The next morning, I walked straight into enemy territory. HOA Community Hall, a glorified tool shed with folding chairs and a Keurig. The meeting was open to residents and concerned stakeholders. I was neither, according to them. But I walked in anyway. Pamela Thornridge was holding court, her voice syrupy and smug. She smiled wide when she saw me. Mr. Mercer, she said, if you're here to file another baseless complaint, please take a seat. I'm here to give you a chance, I said calmly, to fix this quietly. The room went still. A few residents looked at each other, confused. One man in a golf visor whispered, Isn't that the guy who lives in the woods? Pamela's smile cracked. Excuse me? I held up the original county plat map. This shows the original boundary lines for the Mercer property, confirmed by county records and the original 2007 survey. It proves your HOA trails cut deep into my land. I slapped down a photo of the iron marker. This is the original boundary stake, your community garden. It's 90 feet into my property. Gasps, whispers. Pamela's face flushed. This meeting is not the place. Oh, it is, I said, because I've also got video footage of your maintenance crew stealing my gear, and I've already turned it over to the sheriff's office. You're bluffing, she snapped. No, I said. You are. You've built benches, fire rings, solar lights, even put up signs on my lakefront. You sent deputies to my land and told them I was trespassing. So here's the deal. Remove everything in 72 hours. Or I go to the local paper, the county, and start filing trespassing claims on every single one of you who's ever walked your yappy little dogs across my shore. Silence. Pamela's mouth opened, but no words came out. A man in the back, older, with a veteran's cap, stood up and said, "Is this true? You told us we had rights to the lake." Pamela stammered. "I was acting on behalf of the community." "No, you were acting like a queen on a throne that ain't yours," I said. "But the kingdom's over, Pamela." She didn't speak after that, she just walked out. The following week, things moved fast. The HOA removed the signs, benches, and their so-called community garden in record time. They even posted a letter to residents saying there had been a boundary clarification. No apology, no admission, just a quiet retreat. But people noticed. One of the residents, that same vet, his name was Harold, dropped by my camp with a cooler full of beer. "Saw the way you stood up in there," he said. "Hell of a thing." "Thanks," I said. He cracked one open, nodded toward the lake. "Didn't know it was Mercer land. I remember your granddad. Always polite, always quiet. Never let anyone push him around." I smiled, trying to follow his lead. Pamela resigned 2 weeks later, claimed it was for health reasons. I didn't throw a party, but I did light a campfire that night and played Grandpa's favorite Johnny Cash record under the stars, because the land was quiet again, and it was mine. A month later, I built a proper little cabin by the lake. Not fancy, just enough to sleep, eat, and watch the sunrise with a cup of coffee. I still fish. Still walk the perimeter, checking the markers Grandpa left behind. Not because I'm paranoid, because I respect the man who taught me something simple. Stand your ground. But never confuse silence with surrender. I didn't come back to the ranch looking for a fight, but I finished one, and that shoreline? It still whispers his name when the wind blows through the trees.